Views and opinions of any of the guests of After Hours AM are not necessarily the views and opinions of After Hours AM, its hosts, its staff, or any of its affiliates.
Welcome to the After Hours program.
Are you
let the rumors spread.
And welcome to this edition of After Hours AM Wednesday. I'm your host, Joel Sturgis, right along with me, Mr. Steve, the awesome rock star that he is, Asher. Hey, man, how you doing? You surviving your sinus issue?
Yeah, I'm walking it off the best I can, bud. Man, it's just
rub some dirt on it, man. Rub some dirt on it.
Dirt and lots of antibiotics. So I'm eating lots of moldy bread. So
Well, I don't know if you want to eat the moldy bread. I don't know.
Now you tell me.
That might be a wives' tale, that one. I don't know. I'll have to think on that one. If there's any doctors listening, feel free to email us after he's eaten the bread, of course, and tell us whether or not Steve should have eaten the moldy bread.
We'll have a new segment called What's That Lump?
Exactly. What is that color of green he is this week? Let's check in with Mr. Steve Asher. Steve, how you doing? I was great until I ate the moldy peas. Okay then, thank you.
How can you tell? I'm sorry to say, you won't really be able to know if the peas are moldy, would you? Unless they go purple.
Well, I think they get fuzzy.
Get fuzzy.
I think if you could pet them, and maybe name them.
It's like a chia pea.
It would be. It'd be like a chia pea, man. You just kind of pet it, and go, oh yes, it looks like a mogwai. That might be the time that you might not want to eat it. Just saying. Just throwing that out there. You don't want to eat it after midnight either, because we all saw that movie. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So how's the book sales coming, man?
Man, not too bad. Like I said, I'm waiting to get my first quarter returns and all that great stuff. So. Yeah, I'll wait to buy the yacht until I get that.
Well, sure. Well, tonight we have a great show on tap. We have Mr. Tim Shaw on. We had him Thursday, of course, and that was with Mr. Nick Groff and, of course, Dan Class and all that kind of stuff. But we wanted him one-on-one because the guy, man, he does everything. And I was thinking, I'd like to just be able to sit down and pick his brain about a few things. And he's, he really, as he read his bio, we all read his bio, both of us, and you kind of know who he is and all that kind of good stuff. The guy is really in depth on the kind of paranormal stuff we like to talk about.
Like, he's all over it.
Yeah, like ley lines and, just all sorts of cool stuff. So that's who's going to be on, of course, at the 9 o'clock hour Central, 10 o'clock Eastern hour. That will be top of the hour right after Fox News. Mr. Tim Shaw will be joining us. But man, oh man, it has been a weird, odd week. Just before I was coming on the air, while I was prepping for the show, I happened to get an email that evidently Mr. Ryan Buell, and you know who Ryan Buell is, right?
Right.
Paranormal state guy. Evidently he's had a little bit of trouble here and there for whatever reason, but he has been arrested, and I was shipped the audio from a Fox News station that we work with, that they have actually arrested him. And here, it's about a minute and a half long, but it goes into better detail than I can. Take a Listen to this, guys.
Brian Buell looks much different in this mugshot than fans are used to seeing the celebrity ghost hunter. Buell was arrested this week, facing charges of theft and receiving stolen property. Buell, who has a huge following, is known as a paranormal expert who appeared on the cable TV series Paranormal State, looking for ghosts or trying to prove that life after death is real. Buell was a focus of a troubleshooter investigation in 2014 when fans said he did his own disappearing act by selling tickets to his Conversations with the Dead tour, but then canceling those shows and not refunding ticket holders money. After my story, some fans did get their refund, but Buell didn't stop attracting fans. He continued to offer events and merchandise for sale, and I continued to get complaints that he didn't deliver. Now the law has caught up with Buell. He's facing 3 different charges in Pennsylvania, where Buell was last known to be living. His mom also speaking out on Buell's public Facebook page. She writes to Buell's fans, "Please stop enabling his situation by sending money, buying tickets to events that may never occur, buying merchandise, phone calls you may never get, paying money to watch him on Twitch, and giving him offers of shelter." She goes on writing, "I'm pleading with you out of love for my son, and I'm frightened by what his situation has become."
Wow, man.
Currently, Buell remains in jail in South Carolina. The charges are from State College Police in Pennsylvania, where Buell was last.
Interesting. I mean, do you think it's the fame?
It's definitely something. I mean, so basically going from paranormal state to paranormal state
prison.
Time.
Yeah, evidently he stiffed people, so to speak, for a lot of money. You know, he would say, "Hey, we're going to an event," and then you never show up. You know,
well, that's the thing in show business. You know, I mean, that's a good way to end up a lump out in the desert. You know.
Oh yeah, you know, you don't want to cross the wrong guy, otherwise, you know, Fat Tony and his associate there would take you out
Medium
to the
Tony, Slim Fast Tony.
Exactly. He'll take you out to the desert and say, "Yeah, I see here, you know, you owe us money, see? You better pay up, see?" And then if you don't pay up, they'll just shoot you, you know. But no, I think a lot of it, though, is the fame that gets these people. Some of it, anyway.
Well, sure. I mean, you see guys all the time. They kind of disconnect to a point, and that it's an insular situation, and you've got all this entourage around you, and you got all these people telling you all this and that, and you know, man, you're the greatest guy on television. You got this on lock. These other guys, they're chumps. You know, you're it, baby, you're it. And after a while, they start kind of believing their own PR, you know, and they get that in their head of kind of going. And I mean, I'm assuming the situation on
yeah, allegedly, allegedly, like I said,
right.
Charges are pending, so we're not going to say whether he's guilty or not. We'll let the justice system figure that one out. But there has been a lot of alleged incidents of him running off of money. I mean, you know, of course, again, allegedly, he did this. And if he has done this, he's going to have to pay for what he's done. But, boy, he has been a lightning rod for controversy for a long time.
Yeah, this is true. I mean, and that's one of those things, too, is once you become very visible and sort of outspoken on stuff, especially if you allegedly are playing shifty with people,
yeah,
you're a moving target, and sooner or later someone's going to bonk you. It's just the nature of it.
Well, that's exactly what happens. Is eventually you can. What's that old saying? You can fool most of the people all the time. You can't fool all the people. I can't remember that. So you remember that?
Part of the time, and I know what you're saying. And
you know,
and I would say that's true. And I think some people give people passes. You know how it is. I mean, you see like somebody comes in and whatever, you know, and it's like, no, man, your money's not good here, Mr. So-and-so or something.
Yeah.
And these guys get used to just kind of rolling through, and then sometimes when that sort of dims, the star, I guess, or the stardom or the fandom dims a little bit, people can't handle it, you know. Just look at David Lee Roth, man. I mean, he's still jumping around thinking he's like, 1984, and it's like, no, buddy.
But God bless him for it. Come on.
God bless him for it. Somebody's got to keep the spirit alive, I guess. But I had saw something where he was talking about I'm blanking so bad because I like the character. Who was the scientist on Lost in Space?
Oh boy, who the original actor or
no? Was it Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Yes, oh, the pain of it all. He's slowly morphing into him, and I saw that and I was like, well, man, come on. And then I studied and I was like, Jesus, it really does look like he's turning into this guy. But
you're saying David Lee Roth is becoming the Doctor from Lost in Space?
Dude, Google it. That's all I'm saying. Cocaine's a heck of a drug, and all the other drugs. I think he may have invented a few drugs.
I did see him recently. He was performing at the Foo Fighters, I think it was a TV event or something. And Dave is not looking like Diamond Dave anymore. He's looking a lot like homeless Dave at this point. You wonder what happened.
Cubic zirconia Dave.
Yeah, he's no longer Diamond Dave. He's like QBC Dave now, trying to hawk CZ rings.
Oh my God. He's like out of the back of a van, like Dentistry Dave.
Yeah, he's looking rough. I mean, he can still sing. I mean, he sang, what did he sing? Panama, Running with the Devil, Jump. I mean, that's all cool. That's awesome. Yay for you. But my Lord, there is a thing called retirement. I get it.
I remember when he come out, when he sort of redid his resurgence thing. Now, this is after David Lee Roth band and all that, which I thought that was a good band.
Yeah.
But then he come back, he was trying to do Jump and stuff, and it was like kind of country fried, but he was still kind of doing the Dave the Big Grin and trying to do kicks, and I'm like, it was a freaky, like a public access type feeling to it. I'm sitting there going,
well, that is true. It was kind of freaky. It was almost like it was a David Lee Roth impersonator.
Thank you. It was like, do you remember in Austin Powers when he first showed up and he was trying to got his little swag and he's going through and talking to the ladies and everybody's like, wow.
Yeah.
Look at this train wreck. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Poor Dave is not what he used to be, and poor Ryan Buell's not what he used to be. I was actually kicking around the internet like I always do, getting ready for the show, looking at things, and I'm like a ADD monkey when I'm on the internet for some reason. I came across this list of 7 things or 10 things, 10 weirdest ways people died in 2015. Would you like to hear this?
Lay it on me.
Number 1, left-handed people using right-handed products.
See, there you go.
Get this. Around 2,500 people on average die a year from using, if you're left-handed, using right-handed products.
And I'll tell you probably what that goes with. As a proud lefty,
you are a lefty. That's right.
Yeah, I am. I'm carrying the cross for this.
You better be careful.
If you have guys that want to go target shooting or something, or whatever kind of shoot, I'm not going to judge you what you're shooting, but most time the exit ports on most weapons are to the right.
They are.
You're a lefty trying to shoot. You're going to get a face full of hot lead, or not hot lead, but hot
the cartridge. Yes. The ejection will get you. It'll get you every time. Number 2 is eating hot dogs.
Is this still in the lefty thing, or is it
no? This is just number 2 weird ways people died in 2015. This one might come as no surprise, as actually it's a pretty sad stat that 70 children every year die from choking on hot dogs. Right. And there are people, one man tried to take 2 packs of hot dogs, shove them in his mouth all at the same time, and he did die from that.
That's I would
stupidity.
like to say that's a shocker, but not so
That's
much.
stupidity. Number 3, autoerotic asphyxiation. You do know what that is, right?
I'm going to say no.
You don't know what that is? I
think I know what it is, but I don't want to say it on the air.
Do you remember how poor David Carradine died?
Oh, there was a movie. Okay, now I know.
Choking. You know what I mean?
Okay. There was a movie Robin Williams was in. Okay, no. It wasn't like a snuff film. Please don't do that.
Exactly. Exactly. Yes.
There was a movie that was called World's Greatest Dad.
Yes. And
oh my God.
His son checked out from autoerotic asphyxiation.
That's insane.
Yeah, if you don't know what it is, folks, Google it. Feel free. Well, I'm just saying.
Maybe wait till your kids go to bed. It might be a good call.
Yes.
Kenny and Janie.
Now, here's number 4 is really no surprise to me at all. Texting and driving. 572 teens died in 2015 from texting and driving.
You know, I mean, it's more than that probably with adults. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, because I think once you get into that vibe of going, you know, I've been driving 15, 20 years, I got this, you know, and people get comfortable and like you said, again, insular, and then they kind of feel,
Sure.
oh, I've got this. It won't be me, not me.
Well,
So, yeah.
you know, have you ever been on the highway or the interstate and you look over and then there's the moron texting while he's driving? Have you ever
Right.
seen that for your own eyes?
Well, I use that voice to text, which is, as you know, it never types what I say.
No, I know that because I've gotten some of your texts. I'm like,
Yes.
no, Steve, I don't need any milk, but thank you.
Right. Exactly. And but you know what? I would rather you get a message than like you don't get the finished message. So
Yeah.
I'll use a voice to text. But okay, what's the next one?
Okay, next one, number 5, roller coasters. 4 people died in 2015 from roller coasters. Sad but true, the most fun part of the amusement park is after the roller coaster, but it also can be one of the most deadly.
Not going to get me one.
No.
I've not been on anything like that since the swinging chairs. My brother Mike, if you're listening, I'm calling you out, dude. My
Wow.
brother Mike, my older brother Mike, we were at something. It was kind of like Holiday World in Santa Claus, Indiana. Anyway, they had these swinging chairs. Mm-hmm. My sainted brother, we're in the chairs, and every so often he would kind of toss something at me. All right, and then he'd kind of go. He's like, "Hey man, are you okay?" Says, "What? I keep seeing stuff popping off the back of your seat." And he's kind of behind me. He has a handful of like bolts and says, "Dude, these are coming out of your chair."
Oh,
So
no.
I'm screaming. I'm like 10. I'm like,
You're dying. Oh, no, I'm going to die.
right. And then he's laughing. Then I figure out what he's doing. And then I'm dog cussing him. I'm not going to lie. But yeah, so no roller coasters for
What
me.
does dog custom mean?
I'll probably tell you off the air.
Oh, it's that bad. Okay, because they're
something like a dog, I guess. You wanna say that?
Gotcha. See, now you got to remember, I'm way up here in northern Minnesota, so often some of your lingo is very cool to me, like dog custom. Never heard anyone use that in a sentence in my entire life.
Seriously.
So I mean, I'm not making fun of you at all. I think it's kind of cool. Is what I'm saying.
So what you're saying? I am injecting a little local flavor.
You
into
are.
it.
That's all right. Nothing wrong with a little local flavor. You know,
Okay.
nothing wrong with that at all. Okay, number 6 is falling out of bed. Did you get this?
How tall is that bed?
Listen here. Let me throw a number at you that you're going to go, oh my God, at. Okay. In 2015, 450 deaths in the United States from falling out of bed.
That can't be right. Seriously?
It says falling out of bed should actually terrify the crap out of everyone. Seriously, we should all just burn our bed frames and sleep on the floor. Falling from your favorite place on Earth, according to 1.8 million emergency room visits in 2015, and of course, right around 450 deaths in the United States in 2015, would prove that falling out of bed is absolutely a deadly fall.
Okay, well, are they sleeping like with a cord around their neck?
Well, yeah,
What
what
are next to the tub?
I don't
or is it a
think
Shark Tank.
Yeah, I mean, do they have a nightstand? They're hitting their heads? I mean, how are they dying falling out of bed? You know?
I mean, I can understand maybe like if you're an older person or have like hemophilia or something like that, or I'm trying to think of something like a brittle bone syndrome, and you
Sure.
But just the average Joe, I mean, I've probably bonked my noggin on this or not the bedpost. I don't have a bedpost, but something like that. Rolling off into the wall, rolling off into this. Much.
Yeah. Well, number 7 really has me kind of scratching my head. Number 7 is vending machines.
Oh, good. Okay.
Ever experienced pain in putting your money in the vending machine only to be ripped off by the vending machine? And then trying to, stick your fingers in there and get it. Well, anyhow, 13 people in 2015 died by having vending machines fall on them from trying to retrieve items that were not released.
It's just a yoo-hoo. It's just a whatchamacallit.
Could you imagine that EMS call?
Okay. Man, okay, I'm gonna tell you a secret. Back in my young hooligan days.
Okay.
Okay, I had a friend by the name. Let's just call him Mike. It's not my brother. Another guy. So anyway, I know a lot of Mikes. So anyway, we would go downtown, bored kids, latchkey kids.
Yeah.
We didn't have a lot of money. Here's Coke machines. It's like you figured out if you put a quarter or whatever it is, 35 cents, and you hit like the top button. You know how they had a little plastic thing, hit the bottom one at the same time, like tit. Sometimes they would come out more than one, right? So okay, little petty larceny.
Okay, just a little bit, yeah, you know.
Well, we figured out after a while that I was a bigger guy. If we kind of leaned it in, and he kind of pound, punched up in there, we'd get 4 or 5 Cokes.
Wow!
We did that all night.
You really had a system there.
No, well, you ended up getting busted for that. And not really go to jail, but the cops just like, oh, we're at the cop, bring you downtown, and
yes.
But that could have very easily have been me.
Well, it could have been you. It really could have been you. But 8 is even worse for my region. Icicles. Icicles are dangerous as hell, man.
So this is like one of those you're going to shoot your eye out kid type situation?
Yeah. I mean, evidently they're falling off roofs, and it killed 16 people in 2015. Icicles falling off of roofs and impaling people.
See, I would say this doesn't sound so horrible, but I've already had the beef jerky talk with you on the last show. I kind of would want to see that. Just not like a little kid, but I want to see this monumental. Just
you want to see someone die because
coming at the top of a church steeple and like the Omen, and the guy's sitting there standing up. I've never seen anything like that.
Wow. Man, I have never seen. I've seen some pretty horrific icicles fall, and go, oh boy, thank God I wasn't under there.
Right.
But I have never seen anyone impaled by one yet. I live in Minnesota, man. I live like an icicle haven here. I mean,
you live in frozen all day.
Yes, all day. Did you just say frozen all day?
Yes.
Okay. I was taking a sip of my favorite fruity beverage. When you said that, I'm like, what? Frozen all... What? Yes, it is frozen all day around here. Okay, I won't lie anymore. It is cold as hell up here. And there are times when icicles do form, and they create what they call ice dams. And then those ice dams break free, and next thing you know, someone can get killed.
Right. And I bet you it's probably when somebody's out there, and their sainted wife is told about 25 times, Harry, you need to get that snow off the front before the mailman comes or this and that. Oh, my God, I'm just trying to watch the game. Okay.
Oh, fine, I'll go do it. Just let me... Halftime's coming up anyway.
Jesus, sometimes I wish this was just falling and kill me. Okay,
yeah. I wish I were dead. I'm sick of doing this damn job. Yeah, no, I hear you. You know what? Actually, this comes in really low. Number 9 is selfies. 126 people died.
How do you die
in 2015 taking selfies?
Is it because it eats a part of your soul? Is it the whole Indian, Native American mentality?
This goes on to explain that people have been killed doing selfies. Like an individual was, for instance, posing with a venomous snake, trying to do a selfie. Like, hey, Mom, look at me, I got the rattler. And they got bit and died.
Darwinism.
Another one was alligator killed him because he was taking a selfie right next to an alligator pen, and evidently they didn't like that very much. And
I think you're telling me it was like a Joe Dirt thing. Where
exactly. And so it was really, quite honestly, this whole selfie craze is evidently for these people deadly. I don't understand the whole selfie thing. I just don't get it.
I've seen it said, and don't get me wrong, I mean, I've taken pictures with this and that if I got a new t-shirt I really like or whatever and stuff like that, but it's not, some people really, really get into it, man, to the point where they've got the filters and they've got the little...
Oh, yeah, they got it all, man. They got their own little Photoshop and everything else, make themselves look the best. Look at my selfie. I look awesome. Yeah, we've all seen it, especially on Facebook. Or you get the girl that's wearing the kind of like the revealing things, and then they do the shot from way up way up high, so you can, know what I'm talking about. Number 10, get this, ignition of nightwear.
Well, hold on, no. What?
Yes.
Ignition?
Yes. You never knew your pajamas could be so dangerous. But 6 people in 2015 were killed in the U.S. from their nightgown catching fire.
Okay. Oh my God. Okay. See, I took when you said nightwear. I see like the guy with the horns.
Okay.
That. And so you're not. I say, okay. Well, a body of armor falls on you, it'll probably kill you.
Sure. Well, sure. Yeah, I hear you. Well, okay. You're thinking like, medieval knights. No.
Yeah,
this
like
is
a Renaissance.
This is your tidy whities killing you, man. This is your muumuu. The things that some people wear, like nightgowns. These call them nightgowns or house coats or whatever.
Yeah, I'm done. I'm going commando from now on.
Well, you might want to.
I need to.
Okay, number 11, and I think this should have been higher on the list, is falling off ladders.
How that should have been one. That should have been one and stepping or maybe right under stepping in front of a train.
Well, exactly. The amount of people that died from falling off ladders in 2015 was 477.
We need to outlaw ladders.
477 people met their fates on ladders. Again, a good reason not to go on the roof. All right? Just stay off ladders. Just
build a roof and leave it the frick alone.
Exactly. Just let it go. Let's see. Then there's number 12, which is the no-brainer. Power lines. 105 people in 2015 met their death by high-tension power lines. Oh, what the heck is that?
Skydiving or something?
Yeah, it's something. We got audio coming from this website. Well, anyhow, we're going to get rid of this. That audio was killing me. But yes, those are the ways that people have died, as well as, let's see, pogo sticks killed 7 people in 2015. And
pogo sticks? Now you're going to tell me somebody trips.
Well, I think what happened...
got a loom and a stick running down like a gravel road.
Well, yeah, it says here pogo sticks are one of the most deadly childhood toys, not only because they jar you up and down, but in 2015... people fall on their fate by falling off the pogo stick and dying.
I'm too fat to play with a pogo stick.
Well, yeah, exactly. I'm barely small enough for a hula hoop. Come on.
That's messed up. But okay, go ahead. You're saying you're taller laying down?
I'm kidding. I just don't like hula hoops. But anyhow, I don't like pogo sticks either. And why skydiving even made this list? Skydiving's here. 73 people died skydiving in 2015. Okay, if you're going to jump out a perfectly good airplane, okay, just to go skydiving, you kind of deserve it in a way. Yeah, I mean, you're already tempting fate. That's like telling fate, screw you, fate. Just
I'll do what I want.
I'll do whatever I want. Do whatever I want. Gosh, I'm voting for Pedro.
Now, I could see, like, if you jumped off a bridge, like where you used to, use the bungee cords, you could maybe see that, maybe at least as close as skydiving.
They should have had a guy jump out of the airplane, taking a selfie, and hitting high wires.
with a jump rope, while out of asphyxiation in himself.
Yeah, exactly.
Eating hot dogs.
And falling out of bed.
Dear God.
But one more thing I got to mention in here. Miss Cleo is dead, by the way. Speaking of death and weird ways to die, Miss Cleo, famed 1990s infomercial psychic, dies of undiagnosed colon cancer at 53.
Wow.
She never saw it coming, evidently. She should have called her own line. Call Miss Cleo, I'll tell ya. Or however her Jamaican accent went. Remember her? Come on.
I'm trying to forget.
Child, call me.
Now look, in her defense, devil's advocate, that's my thing. Considering it was rectal cancer, she probably could not seen it coming. But
I would imagine not.
You would think that. Yeah, you figured there'd be some signs. Maybe she was eating some of the, tarot cards that she was trying to sell. The factory that she couldn't sell. And
are you saying it might have lacerated her sphincter and it caused the cancer?
Right.
Something on that order. Right, something not good.
Heart of Cups, sliced her up.
Yeah, maybe. But she is dead. Last I heard, she was selling used cars in Florida. The last I heard of her, but now she is dead at 53 from undiagnosed colon cancer. That colonoscopy, man, I've heard good and bad things about it. I knew a couple people that met their maker with one of those, though. got perforated.
From the colonoscopy?
Yeah, got perforated bowel, stuff like that. They didn't survive it, so it's kind of a crapshoot anyway.
See, I'm at that
So to
age now. Okay,
speak.
well, since we're talking creepy, I'm kind of getting to that age where they're going to have to do the, reach for your ankles.
Oh,
thing.
yeah. Turn your head and cough. Or, an actual finger, the foul finger. Yeah,
Right.
yeah. Yeah, I'll get to that age. But we got to run the break, and when we come back, we're going to discuss the 75 things you don't want to do in prison with our own resident prison guard, Mr.
What a
Steve
segue
Ash.
from
Don't go anywhere. Be right back right after this.
See if you can catch the drift on this one.
Too much lust. Can you implode? Overload. I'm off the chart when you're in my heart. Can you self-combust? From too much lust.
Anavar Media LCC is a dedicated team of professionals committed to helping business development scale and protect their websites, mobile applications, enterprise software solutions in the Northeast Ohio area. Locally owned since 2012, our client-centered values truly sets Anavar apart. Contact us today to learn how you can get 25% off your first project. Call them at 234-380-4852. Again, that's 234-380-4852, or visit them at www.anavar.com. Again, that's www.anavar.com.
Hi, Tom Bodette. If you can hear me, then you have an internet connection, which means you can do cool things online, like listen to streaming radio, obviously, or watch a video of a monkey washing a cat. Let your freak flag fly. Or you can book a room at a great price at Motel6.com. Isn't the internet wonderful? Everything you want right at your fingertips, and whoa, did not need to see that. I'm Tom Bodette for Motel 6, and we'll leave the light on.
Taking a family of 5 to the amusement park can cost a small fortune.
Oh, yeah. So to save some money, we thought, hey, let's bring the amusement park to us.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
All right, step right up, young man. Are you ready to ride the wacky waterfall?
That's just the bathtub with the shower head running.
Nope, it's the wacky waterfall.
It's the shower, Dad.
Waterfall.
Wacky.
There's an easier way to save. To get a free rate quote, go to geico.com. Then buy online, over the phone, or at your local Geico office.
Northern Tool and Equipment.
I got a rather serious problem over here.
All right, what are we looking at?
Cranky mother-in-law asleep on the couch in the man cave.
Dear God.
It gets worse.
That's impossible.
She's passed out on the remote.
I stand corrected.
What do I do?
Okay, I want you to grab a Torrin Big Red hydraulic bottle jack.
Okay.
Now you wedge that bad boy in under your mother-in-law and crank her up skyward.
It's working. And got the remote.
Great. Now grab that Torrin Big Red 2-ton folding shop crane and put that woman on wheels.
And away we go.
There's no problem a little horsepower can't solve. Northern Tool and Equipment.
Do you have a question for our guest tonight? Don't feel like calling the show? Not a problem. Email those questions to afterhoursam@gmail.com. Again, that's afterhoursam@gmail.com. Hey, welcome back to After Hours AM, everybody. I'm your host, Joel Sturgis. Right along with me is the master of the prisons, the warden of the macabre. Okay, I'll stop giving you weird nicknames now, Mr. Steve Asher. When we were leaving, of course, we discussed a few crazy things. Of course, weird ways to die, Mr. Ryan Buell going to jail. But now perhaps the weirdest thing, give people a little bit of background. You were, and for many years, a prison guard, were you not?
This is correct.
And I came across the definitive list of 75 things. I don't know if we'll get to all 75, but you can explain a lot of these things you do not want to do under any circumstances in prison. Okay, now you can shed some light for us on these and whether they are indeed deadly traits to have in prison. So number one, the big number one is be a snitch.
That is absolute gospel.
That is gospel. That's real. So the movies where the snitch gets the shank is not too far from the truth.
No, you got to understand, most of the time when I spoke to most inmates, and they were pretty honest with me because, I didn't bother them. They said, look, I'm not going to tell you where my stuff's at, but you can ask any old-timer. We're within about 10 feet of a knife here or on the yard at all times. Everyone has hiding spots.
Man.
So yeah, that's just a fact of it.
Oh, and number two is befriending the guards. You don't want to do that.
Yeah, well, yes and no. Yes and no. There's a thing of going, if you do your job properly, you do a good job. Now, see, back in the old days, I was hiring in just when the old guard and the new guard come in. Mm-hmm. Back in the old days, you did a good job. You took care of this and that. The officer might give you a cigarette. Hey, pretty good job, Mike. This and that.
Here, have a cigarette. Yeah, there you go.
It was back in the old days. Yeah, that was precious in there.
Yeah, well, that's currency. It probably still is, cigarettes.
Oh, well, yeah, there's lots of currency in there today. But yeah, it's one of those things you just don't know. That's just not a good call.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't matter. You could be doing anything. Or, hey, I heard your wife had surgery. I hope everything turns out well. And you walk down the street and he could have said, man, he just told all about your store and your cell. Or he just told all about, that money you're getting in from your wife. That's
gotcha.
This and that. Yeah, that's no good.
Okay. Number three, sit on someone else's bunk.
Well, we had cell doors, so if you're sitting in somebody's bunk, you jump in somebody's bunk. We had single cells.
Ah, gotcha. So it wasn't
state penitentiary.
Okay. It wasn't like it was a big community of people.
Well, you're thinking of more like a dorm setting where you might have double bunks.
Well, that's what we have here in Minnesota. Primarily, it's pretty. From what I've heard, a pretty easy place to do time up here because it's more of a rehabilitation atmosphere than it is an incarceration atmosphere.
They got a spa. You can go.
There is up here. That's what I've been told. I wouldn't know.
There's a spa.
Yes, I've been told that they have it pretty cushy up here. That it's more of a dorm room feel than it is a prison. You know what I mean?
A lot of pillow fights.
Well, I suppose maybe they pillow fight each other to bed. Oh, have fun. Here, take that. Number three, or number four rather, cut in line.
Oh my! Yeah, I won't do that now. I literally, if I'm in somewhere, and I've said this, and I don't think about it because a lot of times these little old ladies give me looks, and I'll be like, "Ma'am, excuse me, are you getting ready to order?" And she said, "Well, no, I'm still waiting for my husband to call, whatever." And so you go ahead. I said, "Well, I don't want to cut in line. I don't plan on getting smashed today." Shanked, yeah, yeah. I don't want to be riding the metal. You know what I'm saying?
Riding the metal, yeah.
I don't want to be percolating any. Squirting any blood out today, but yeah, it's true. It's true.
Number five is forget to say please. Well,
forget to say please.
Get you in trouble. Was that a big thing in the prison, or is that just one of those that hit this list for really no good reason?
Well, disrespect is
I can imagine a hardened criminal saying please every time. I killed 43 people, but I will still say please.
It's like, right, so, I am going to come bash your brains in. Mother, may I? Yes, you may.
Yes, you may. Go ahead.
I think there's a certain modicum of truth to that in regards of you don't just step on people's toes. You don't, figuratively.
Gotcha.
And you just handle it.
Number 6, of course, in that same line is they forget. Right. I didn't mean to step on you, but number 6 is in that same line of thinking. They forget to say thank you. So, it goes back to manners. Number 7, though, because you kind of described it with the whole please part. Number 7 is you do not want to steal in prison.
Well, half of them are in there for stealing. Now, are you talking about from the guards? Because
it just says things that if you're a prisoner, you do not want to do.
I assume they're talking about in regards to population. Because a lot of these seems like you deal with your bunk. This is almost like, the 10 Commandments of cell time.
Sure.
I would say that's true. Because anybody can't trust anybody with your stuff. You don't want to around your stuff, and nobody will include you in their little circles, and then you're a pariah, and then you're easy prey.
Well, sure. If you're alone, you're done for, pretty much. You know, I don't know what gang I'd join. I'd probably join. I don't know. I'd run. I don't know. I wouldn't do really, really well in prison anyway. To be honest with you, I'd be like, I don't know what gang to join. I mean, I'm sure they don't have like a career day where you show up.
I was thinking like chess club, maybe like where the
do I want to go
DMs or something.
Yeah, do I want to go Aryan Brotherhood, or I mean, it's not like there's a list there. You know, I'm sure there's not a list. There isn't like there isn't like a recruiting station for these gangs.
I mean, we had several people, because what happens is you have people come in out of state. They move like big timers. Say you did really hard crime, say in Tampa, or did really hard stuff, and say up in Minnesota somewhere. They'll move you out of state to try to break your little clique up.
Yeah.
But what happens is all they're doing is planting new seeds in new prisons, and that's what we had. Okay. You would have that. So, but go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. Where did you guard? And then you don't have to name names. Any really famous prisoners?
Well, I mean, yeah, you have that to a point, and especially later in regards of like kind of how do I word that? I do not want to say too much.
Yeah, don't say too much. We don't want to get in trouble.
Kind of hits, people involved in hits, people involved with the.
Gotcha. No mob guys, huh? No big like Sammy the Bull or anything.
Oh yeah, no, we didn't have Terry the Squid or nothing like that. I mean, you had some old timer guys like that, but very very few, and they didn't talk about it.
Well, okay, number 8 is possession of a cell phone.
Oh, just possession. You don't want to get possessed in the prison.
Possession of a cell phone. You don't want to get caught owning a cell phone, evidently. You know, especially a smartphone, I suppose. You know.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, you can kind of go, hey, I'm going to be on the yard at the south wall at 10 a.m. tomorrow. Come on by and throw, fill in the thing of your choice of contraband, be it drugs, be it a knife, be it a gun. Be it a knife, gun, and drugs. It's going to be a fun weekend. So it's going to,
sounds like a great time to me. I mean, go on.
Hey, but yeah, that's honestly though, that's a quick way to have somebody get hurt really quick. And
sure. Number 9 is watch television all day. You don't want to do that in prison.
Well, I'll tell you why of that. The reason you don't want to do that is you're going to deteriorate. If you don't move and do sit-ups and pull-ups and walk. I mean, it's just the truth. You're going to blow up.
So now, did they have, like, major muscle men in there because that's all they do is work out all day? You know?
We had a few big kind of like John Coffey-looking guys.
Sure.
But they never caused any trouble.
Okay.
They were guys in the yard. Nobody bothered them.
Because you always see the guys in the movies doing
right, we see stuff like Oz, and everybody's just cut and got the what they call like the V kind of where it's just like
yeah.
But yeah, you had a lot of kind of portly type guys too, but usually they were wicker inmates. But I would be like this: hey guys, you want to sit in here and watch TV and eat cakes? Have at it.
Yeah.
You're watching TV. You're not out plotting to kill me.
Well, that is true. That is, and they're also getting chubby. You know, the chubbier they are, the slower they move.
Easier to catch.
So, exactly. They don't run so fast. Number 11, operate a business. You do not want to operate a business in prison.
Right. And they're not talking about, like,
no selling Amway in prison, evidently.
No. Okay. Inside of there, they may have what they call pharmacies, which they collect medicine from people. Maybe they act like they swallow it. Some guards check them. They're supposed to when they stick your tongue up, all that. Well, sometimes they get out there, spit it in a napkin, dry it out, turn around and sell it to somebody, and then they collect a certain amount of meds. It's like a little pharmacy, and they'll sell it to whoever. Or they do this with food.
Okay. Well, now the next one on here, of course, is number 12 would be make every inmate your friend. How would you go about doing that anyway? You know, and why would you want to do that?
Okay, because people think, well, I'll just be cool with everybody. First, they'll think you're weak, because if you don't have, what was it? Was it Winston Churchill that said, like if you have enemies, that's a good thing. It meant you stood for something.
Yes.
Kind of like that. If they don't see that you have a certain amount of fortitude and whatever you want to call it.
Gotcha.
They want to see that you can kind of stand up to somebody, that you're not just a social butterfly. Because also the thing is, if you're talking to me and you're talking to everyone else in that yard, anything I tell you may get to them.
Well, that's true. That's true. And then the next one is make no inmate your friend. So you don't want to do that either. You don't want to be totally cut off from the world and just stare at people with a vacant look, I'm sure.
Oh, no. Staring people down in a prison is super, super not... No.
Really? Bad juju, huh?
Right.
You don't want to do that.
Whenever I train guys, I would have them in the kitchen, which is like where most of the fights went down. Say, sit there, be eating. We'll kind of talk, occasionally kind of glance around the room, scan. Maybe, if somebody's looking, maybe give you a little nod to cut your eyes over here, let them know that they're looking at you, and maybe give them a little nod. You get a wave like, hey, how maybe hillbillies or something. Hey, now, but show that, hey, man, okay, I see you, you see me, cool, and you go on your thing. You don't become best friends.
Wow, so prison is a tough place, man. It really is. I mean, because I'm kind of nice by nature. I talk to everybody, so I'd be screwed there. I definitely want to run a business, so I'd be screwed there because, I want something to do with my time. I like TV a little too much, so, there again, I'm screwed. I don't cut in line, but I do say please and thank you, so there again, I'm screwed. Wow, man, I just would not survive very well behind the bars.
Yeah,
thus
far. You don't want to go there anyway. You don't want to be in there.
No, gosh, no. One of them here is, I'm kind of jumping now because there's so many of them. Failed to give a courtesy flush.
You would not be surprised. Maybe you would be. Okay, there was a guy who had a celly.
Okay.
This is back when they did have to double bunk, because at one time there were double bunks. And the guy didn't do it. The guy willfully ate the most noxious peppers and this and that. And there's a thing called Jack Mac. Jack Mac is where you take macaroni and mix it all up, and you take tuna and you put all this other stuff and all these different type of mackerel and all these really pungent fish foods, and you eat that. Well, eventually it's gonna come out.
It's gonna work
Miss Cleo,
Yeah. Well, so, exactly.
And you leave it funky, and they go off on you.
Wow, man, jeez. So, the thing of it is whenever you see on TV they show, and I don't know if this is true or not, just the toilet sitting there in the middle of the cell. No stall walls or anything. So if you got to do your business, it's like in front of everybody.
Well, the general rule is this. Okay, you have bars, okay, and you have a tray slider. It's not so much like it's just a regular standard gate that comes closed, not the flat solid one.
Sure.
You have a little opening for where they can put their hands out to be cuffed.
Yeah.
Or receive food or something through that. But you can hang a towel or a sheet halfway up to where the officer can walk by and see you, but the guy sitting in his bunk eating nachos or whatever can't sit there watching you pinching it. So
you should write a book. You should be writing this book.
What?
You should be writing a book of etiquette in prison, the do's and don'ts by Steve Asher.
How not to get shanked.
How not to get sodomized. No.
Yeah, eat that stuff, and just don't wipe. They won't touch you.
Yeah, well, that's the next one. There is, don't sodomize others. Is on here, and of course that goes without saying. I would suppose, maybe.
It's not good. That's not cricket,
No,
there's some guys that are big fans of that.
Oh, see, now that's everyone's biggest fear. Anyone that has ever been in prison or has the chance of going to prison that I've ever heard talk or speak or anything, that was always their biggest fear, was the when lights go out activities. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah. Is it as prevalent as Hollywood would make it seem?
Excuse me. I've been lucky enough to not have really walked up on, the stroll or the long goodbye or
the long goodbye. Oh,
prom night. That's what we call it a lot. Prom night. Yeah, it's a dark world I walked in. Yeah, I mean that happens. There's little. How do I say this? There are little blind spots at any institution. If somebody wants to, do a little
Oh, I don't want to know. Okay, I'm good, Steve. I really am.
I'm just telling you. You asked me, buddy.
I know, and now I'm regretting it. I am so regretting it. Okay, moving on there, as they say, according to this list anyway, you do not want to brag about your crime.
No. Well, first of all, most people that are bragging about anything either didn't do it or didn't do it to the extreme or whatever. And if it doesn't matter, especially if you're in there for something revolving like hurting a woman or mistreating a child, especially something sexually, you're in there for auto theft, or you're in there for trafficking or something. You never want that out because you're a dead man.
Okay. So the chomos, they don't do so well in the old prison. Child molesters, they kind of tend to have a short lifespan, is what you're saying?
No, yeah. I never heard them called that. Local flavor. They were called tree jumpers here.
Tree jumpers? Oh my lord!
Right.
So tree jumpers didn't necessarily survive so well.
No, they how to say it? They weren't so pretty when they went home. If they went home,
I would imagine. I would imagine. Here in Minnesota, of course, they have their very own prisons for those people. They don't generally put them in population. They have their own treatment centers here.
Right. Well, I mean, there was another facility here, the Western Kentucky Correctional Complex, which I had originally started out there for a few years, and it had the program to kind of treat people with that type of sexual drive and give them therapies and this and that. I can't say if it worked or not, but it was a thing where that's what the state was attempting to do. But at the pen, it was just like, no.
Yeah. Well, another thing they tell you not to do is cry in front of other inmates.
Oh, no. God,
you don't. You don't show any emotion, huh? You just got to be like RoboCop or something. Just, the Terminator. Just kind of,
God, no. That basically is, oh, sweet God. I'm trying to think how to, that is such monumentally no moment.
You just don't. Okay, now, being that we've gone through a lot of this list, what was the craziest thing you ever witnessed in the prison?
Oh, I'm trying to think. There's been a couple. I mean, as of directly hands-on inmate type of stuff.
Yeah, I'm saying what you had to deal with, not what you heard from a guy or from another.
No.
Guy,
I'm talking dealing with it, having to take a guy down to the infirmary who'd received some legal mail in solitary, which they're not supposed to get. Anything with paper clips, anything with staplers, anything with hard binding. Anyway, this guy apparently got a staple, and over the course of a shift of about 8 hours, basically sawed 2/3 of his penis off.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
What? Wow! And you came up on this. You had to deal with this.
I came up on the situation just as it was discovered.
Oh.
They pulled him out into what they call it's similar to like a mercy seat, but where you put you in a little chair and they kind of tie your hands down, tie your legs down, so secure your neck and your head so you don't bang your head against it.
Yeah.
Well, he's sitting there, blood's trickling down his legs. I'm thinking, this guy gets stabbed? And he's like, no, not at all. And they had a towel or something, and they kind of lifted. And I was like, what am I looking? I said, oh my God, that's his beep, and like, holy.
Oh.
I said, yeah, come on, newbie, because I was just from the farm. They call me a pig farmer because back in the old days it used to be a farm center. I said, come on, pig farmer, let's get you in it. And so I'm having to walk him down there. And the thing is, he hurt himself so bad that he had the funky smell of that. He went on himself, pooed on himself. Well, but I forgot to mention, he covered himself head to toe in poop.
Oh.
That's a fun one.
Oh.
So we're trying to transport this guy down a side of a secured area.
Sure.
People were freaking out, screaming at him, and there's a blood trail.
Oh.
So I'm trying to push this thing, and I got blood all over my boots and stuff. So yeah, that was fun.
So basically, it looked like a deer being dragged, kind of thing, like that kind of blood trail. If you're a hunter, that kind of pronounced blood trail. Yeah.
It was more how do I say this? Well, he was a black fellow, so it was more like somebody cut like an anaconda into him?
Oh my God! No.
One of the guys, slow down. Okay.
No.
Digest that. And one of the guys.
Oh my God.
The one guy says, you know what? Even if he loses that other part, he's still effing bigger
Oh my God.
You're jealous of this guy?
Oh my God.
Priorities, bro.
Wow. Well, you know, people don't go to prison for being, you know, good, honest, normal thinking, thought processing folks. You know. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what people have to understand. You got to know what you're working with. You got to know the characters and the mindset of stuff, and because you're not going to turn these guys into model little marching soldiers because they would have been that on the street.
I suppose, you know, just wow, I just can't, I'm absorbing that mental image you just unfolded for
That's
all
going
of
to be
us.
that's going to be chapter 1 of my children's pop-up book.
Yeah.
It's got like free numbers for therapy afterwards, and
it's the shortest pop-up book ever. Yes. Yes.
God.
I would imagine that. I don't even know where to go with that. Because we all watch the shows like Shawshank Redemption and Oz and these other prison type movies. And of course, we get this notion in our head that Hollywood's put in there, you know, the guy with the cup hitting the bars. You know what I'm talking about, the metal cup, you know. It's not like that at all, is it?
Well, they don't have metal cups. They have plastic cups.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And his penis plumb through.
Oh.
Man.
Steve, man, you're killing me over here. You're killing me.
It's bad.
That is just bad. Do you miss it? Do you miss being a prison guard?
Oh, I thought you mean seeing guys cut their penises off?
Well, I'm sure not every day was a penis cutting day. I'm sure there was, maybe Wednesdays, were the penis cutting day.
No penis Tuesdays.
No, I would imagine not.
No.
Yeah.
What was your question? Did I
do you miss it? Do you miss working in the prison?
I miss the historical quality of the prison itself, because of the fact my dad had worked there, my granddad was in there for stuff. But as of the in and out everyday cat and mouse thing, and no, not at all.
Well, I have heard the safest place to be in the prison is the hole, so to speak.
Generally, that's true, and that's why a lot of guys will act up. Another bit of local flavor. When someone acts silly to get thrown into the hole, that's called selling wolf cookies.
Selling wolf cookies.
Right, you're trying to come out like you're this big bad wolf, right? But what you're trying to do is, because you're kind of sweet, you're a little soft, you want to go in there, so you're selling wolf cookies.
Ah, gotcha. Like, wolf in sheep's clothing kind of thing, or whatever. Yes, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I would imagine that would be a horrible thing. Wow, I just did not know that there were so many rules to prison. You would think that they'd make a handbook.
Well, they make a handbook for the inmates in regards of their superiors or whatever. I guess you want to call it the staff, but
there's no inmate handbook.
No, it's unwritten.
Oh, okay. Well, you need to publish one for inmates. How
to get stabbed in 5 easy steps.
Well, yeah, exactly. We can hand it out, in the booking process. There you go. Here's your handbook. And that way they can read it and learn it and maybe, avoid being shanked.
I mean, I've had young guys come in, and for something just dumb. I mean, violent crime or like whatever, got in a fight with their father-in-law or something and went too far and they killed the guy, and maybe the guy was a judge or maybe the guy was an ex-state trooper or something. Horrible situation, but maybe shouldn't have gotten life for that, but because the guy was whatever.
Yeah.
So he got really hammered, to make an example. But anyway, and I tell this kid, look, all that stuff on television, that's gone. This is a totally different animal. This isn't like anything. You try to play that Hollywood stuff, they're going to crush you.
Wow.
Stay away from people.
Rosy thinking, man.
No. I'm just saying, it was like I said, look, and after this conversation, we don't talk.
Yeah, that's right.
bad situation, I'm booking you. I'm just telling you this because you're a young dude, and hopefully to God you'll get out of here, or at least won't get raped or stabbed or beat to death.
Yeah, well, the young guys, I would imagine, were the easiest ones to corner and take advantage of because they're the most trusting, I'm assuming.
It's not even, it was just not even so much that. They have zero support in regards of all these other guys. It's like to fly into the web. You don't have any. I mean, if you maybe have an uncle or a cousin who's already on that yard, he might be able to. It's almost like,
wow.
It's almost like a prison college. You're a legacy. We know this guy. He's solid. He's good. He's in.
And you're his nephew, and so you're good to go. Okay, gotcha. Wow, man. Well, anyhow, that is the do's and don'ts and creepy things about prison with your former prison guard, Steve Asher. And if you have any questions, I'm kidding, of course. We got to run a Fox News. Come back. We have Mr. Tim Shaw joining us. We're going to talk a little paranormal, little cool paranormal stuff. Don't go anywhere. Be right back right after this.
Fox News Radio, I'm Kathleen Maloney.
What do we want? Justice! Why do we want it? Now!
Protesters on the streets of Charlotte, North Carolina again tonight, where a black man was fatally shot by a black police officer. Demonstrations turned violent last night and several officers were injured. Police say the man who was killed, Keith Scott, ignored multiple warnings to drop a handgun. The family of the black Tulsa man who was shot to death by a white police officer met in New York today with the Reverend Al Sharpton.
We know that there was no gun in the car.
Right.
We know he was unarmed.
Yeah.
We know he was moving slow. We knew he didn't commit a crime like the New York bomber did, who's still alive.
Yeah.
We know all of those things, but my brother is dead.
Terrence Crutcher's sister Tiffany says her brother's death at the hands of police proves there is a racial bias within law enforcement. President Obama phoned the mayors of both Tulsa and Charlotte today. He expressed his condolences and offered the administration's assistance if needed. The president also called for protests to be conducted peacefully and for law enforcement to find ways to calmly and productively engage demonstrators. U.S. forces in Iraq may have been attacked with mustard agent.
American troops in northern Iraq came under ISIS rocket attack and traces of oily residue were discovered on the shell. A U.S. military official tells me it could be a false positive, but the troops did not take any chances. U.S. troops have chemical weapon exposure suits, and at least 2 soldiers went through decontamination protocols.
Fox's Lucas Tomlinson, the suspected chemical agents are being sent back to the U.S. for testing. Gains on Wall Street after the Fed decides to leave interest rates unchanged. The Dow climbing 163 points, S&P up 23, NASDAQ adding 53 points to close at a record high. Fox News Radio, fair and balanced. Investigators are still waiting to question the man accused of bombings in New York and New Jersey.
A law enforcement source tells Fox News terror suspect Ahmad Rahami was shot 7 times in a gun battle with police when he was captured Monday morning and could be in the hospital for at least several more days. And tonight there are 2 other most wanted men in New York. Not suspects, but witnesses. 2 guys who found a duffel bag on West 27th Street Saturday night, took an unexploded pressure cooker bomb out of the bag, possibly accidentally disarming it in the process, and then took that bag. The FBI says it wants that duffel bag because it's potential evidence against Rahami as the charges pile up against him. In Newark, New Jersey, Rick Leventhal, Fox News.
A public defender is seeking a court appearance for Rahami so he can hear the charges against him. Wanted in Chicago. More cops.
The Chicago Police Department is adding almost 1,000 new officers to the streets over the next 2 years as the city deals with record violence and shooting death numbers not seen in decades.
I owe you a department stronger in numbers, equipped for the 21st century, richer in skills and best practices to manage and challenge peacefully and honorably.
Superintendent Eddie Johnson on the force's largest hiring effort in years said the one big question is how the cash-strapped city will pay for it. Mayor Rahm Emanuel, who's resisted hiring new officers, was not in attendance, though separately he's set to address the city's rise in crime this week. In Chicago, Jeff Manasso, Fox News.
Coastal Virginia and North Carolina are getting drenched. A stalled weather system and the remnants of Tropical Storm Julia have brought days of rain and flooding. High water is blocking roads and even forcing schools to close. The storm has dumped more than 7 inches of rain since Sunday, and it's expected to keep going until tomorrow. I'm Kathleen Maloney, Fox News Radio.
And welcome back to After Hours AM, everybody. And I also want to say hi to the Clear Channel, or AKA iHeartMedia gang over there. Thank you again so much for picking up this crazy, crazy show. And we really hope you all enjoy what we have to put out, even though, you know, we did talk about prison, and that might not have been the greatest introduction, but I promise we're somewhat of a serious show. On that note, Thursday night, we had a great show. We had Mr. Tim Shaw, of course. This is our guest tonight, along with Nick Groff and, of course, Dan Class. And one thing that struck me, I never had a chance to really talk to Tim one-on-one. And, I mean, we've crossed paths, radio paths, several times. He had a show, Black Cat Lounge, which is really successful, great show. I'm sure they could still download the show, right? That's still out there for download, right, sir?
Oh, yeah.
You know, so make sure you search.
All they got to do is, it's still on iTunes and Podomatic. I'm still out there all over the place.
Absolutely.
And for $1,001, I will send you all sorts of USBs just full of them. If you want them all.
You want them? You can have them. Yeah, but you can find that show, of course. But while we were talking, we kind of went all over the paranormal landscape with you, and that really made me think, damn, man, I've never had a chance to talk to Tim one-on-one. Like I said, we cross paths radio-wise, been on the same network, done this, done that. Never had a chance to sit down and talk, and tonight's finally the night we get to talk. Now, Tim, what kind of got you? I mean, you're a man of many hats. You dip your toes in a lot of different things of the paranormal. But what got you into the paranormal?
You know, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think there was a time in my life that I wasn't into the paranormal. I mean, I was brought up in a Polish parochial school, but my father's family were all spiritualists, and they many of them actually had lived in the Spiritualist Assembly of Lilydale, New York. So during the school year, primarily, I went to church on Sunday, and I listened to the wonderful nuns. And whenever I messed up, they went and they got me with rulers and color brushes and all sorts of good things like that. But during the summer months, I was able to go out and visit with relatives, and Lilydale's a kind of a magical place. It's sort of like a place that time forgot, and we got a chance to go and, with all my friends out there, we got a chance to go out and swim in the lake. And but on Sundays in the morning, they used to go to something called Lyceum, which is a sort of Sunday school for spiritualists. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I spent quite a few Sundays because, quite frankly, it was a great place to get rid of the kids. The adults needed to sit down and have coffee and blah, blah, while the kids, were someplace that they couldn't get into too much trouble.
Sure,
but
sure.
It was so great because of the fact that I remember I probably attended my first child seance, which is totally different from the Victorian seance that we're all used to. Probably 9 or 10 years old, and we learned all about the spirit wrappings with the Fox sisters and some of the history of spiritualism and what what energy was and mediumship and healing and that sort of thing. So I'm going to be honest with you. I don't remember a time that I really wasn't into it.
So it's been, like you said, ever present in your life. Now, was your family, obviously they were really supportive of because the family history of spiritualism. Are you in your bio? It says, and I will try to talk to you about this on Thursday, but you took a training course in mediumship. Now,
I've taken a lot of classes in mediumship.
Now, does everybody possess that power, or is that something you either got or you don't?
No, everybody can do it.
Okay.
This is. I tell people, and I tell students when I was teaching, you know what? This isn't anything special. This is nothing that anybody can't do. Everybody possesses some sort of attribute, some ability. it just depends what type. I mean, a lot of people are good at clairsentient, which is clear feeling, or clairaudience, clear hearing, or clairvoyance, which is clear seeing. I mean, everybody can do it. Everybody is good at something. When we were in that hunter-gatherer stage, when we were out there, in nomadic tribes, wandering all the lands, we needed a one-up on other tribes for survival. We had to know where water was, and the shelter, and the herds, and that sort of thing. So, in many cases, they consulted the ancestors, like an ancestor worship. And whether or not this was a figment of their imaginations or this was a sixth sense of some type, but the ancestors sometimes would answer them, whether it would be in dreams or gazing into a still pool of water, almost like a scrying method that we would refer to now. They had it, and we lost it, like so many things that we've lost over the years. It's like muscle memory. If you don't do it all the time, you can kind of lose it, but you can regain it through exercise. When we started living an agricultural life, and we started living behind walls for protection, we kind of started to lose that. And the only people that kept that kind of knowledge were priests and shamans and, holy women and holy men and that sort of thing. So this is nothing that people cannot do. All it takes is a lot of practice. I'm not going to lie to you. It takes a lot of practice.
Yeah.
It takes intent, and it takes a lot of focus. And I always kid that this is the hardest, easiest thing you'll ever do because it's so natural.
Yeah.
Yet we make it so hard because we think it's hard. We have to trick our brains into saying, "Hey, this just happened." Then you just kind of let it flow, and it flows.
Real okay. So I mean, when your students finally have that aha moment, maybe they're breaking through to the mediumship side of things, does it ever scare them? Like, oh my God,
Absolutely.
I mean,
You want to? I'll tell you a story. You want to hear a story about
I'd love
me
to.
pooping my pants?
Well,
basically?
hey, you know what? Here we go. Go ahead and tell Tim.
I tell my students this, and I'm not going to lie about it. These are things that are human. And what happened was, I had taken all these classes. I had taken Lyceum. I was brought up in this. And in 1982, I was getting ready to get married, and I had moved back to my parents' house. And I was running a night crew. I was going to college, and I was running a night crew at a local supermarket. So I said, I'm going to go to bed. It's like 6 o'clock at night, and I'm like, I've got to really kind of, get some sleep. I got to function tonight. So I walk in, and I'm sitting on the edge of my bed, and I looked up, and it was like a row house like you see in the cities. And I looked out, and something white walked right across my view. I mean, it was shaped. It had a head, and it just like flowing drapery. I guess that's the best way you could describe it. Now I went out there. I checked out like the shears and the windows. Nothing was open. I said, "Wow, I saw a ghost." I was so thrilled after all this time. I mean, I had getting feelings and hearing about it and reading about it. I finally saw one objectively. Objectively means through the eyes. And all of a sudden, I went to sleep, not even thought twice about it. I woke up getting ready to work. Of course, I'm working nights. I was freaked. My logical mind kicked in. I was so scared. I'm not going to lie to you. I was so terrified. I had to walk across these catwalks and all this stuff at night. I had to have somebody with me for a couple of days, and it shut me down. I said, I'm not doing this stuff anymore. The stuff is insane. Every horror movie that I had ever seen, jumped into my head, and I shut down for, probably about 10 years.
Really?
And
I would imagine.
About 10 years. It scared me that badly. It really did.
Yeah, I've heard other mediums, when they first realize that they a lot of mediums I've talked to anyway on air, it's like they're born with this ability, so they don't know any different. I couldn't imagine living that way. Quite honestly, I'd get sick of people in my room if I were them. I'd be like, "Get the hell out of here! Leave me alone already." But
don't laugh.
Yes,
don't laugh. I do that because I'm very, very strict with spirit. Don't allow spirit. I don't work with spirit in my own house because my house is a refuge. That's the way I have to work it. I worked some negative cases and stuff, so I don't want this stuff bothering me. And I mean, it's called boundaries and always being in control. Whenever you're working with spirit, you are the one that's in control, and the boundaries are how you work with spirit. The only time that I ever had anything that happened to me that kind of broke through the boundaries was during the unfoldment process. Mm-hmm. And then the unfoldment process is when we start becoming mediums, and you start getting that two-way communication. And I was laying in bed one night with my wife, and she said, all of a sudden, I sat up like just jumped, sat on the edge of the bed, and I started talking to somebody. Mm-hmm. And she was like, well, who the hell is there? And I said, well, don't you see her? She's standing there. And she goes, who? I said, this woman, she's dead. She's here to talk to me. And I always remember she wore this green dress. I mean, I can describe her to a T. And when my conversation was over, I went right back to bed and I started snoring. My wife was terrified, and she just went into a fetal position and put the blankets over her head. The next morning, she says, I always knew you were really big into this stuff, but I never knew how deep it was. But that's about the only time I really had anything in the house. I mean, I've had little things happen, knocks, and I've had, etheric mist and that sort of thing in the house. But never again did I have anything that woke me up or, that I saw.
Interesting. Now that's a heck of a story, because I've heard a lot of experienced investigators tell us on air. You don't. The old saying is you don't poop where you eat, kind of thing. So you don't investigate your own home. Exactly. You might want to leave that kind of stuff alone. And I'm sure, Steve, you would definitely agree with me on that one.
Oh, wholeheartedly. And that's the thing where, I had something similar to that in regards, like you get the little knocks and things like that. But like you said, you have to be extremely forceful, and just from the get-go, the sort of situations at which I'm not a medium, so I can only see what you're doing from the outside of it. But I know, just like in any other situations, when you're dealing with something that's outside of the norm like that, you can't have any wiggle room. You can't let them dictate, because like you said, you'll just be dealing with this day and night. Mm-hmm. You'll have
exactly. I worked for a medium. I used to work for a medium, a very famous radio medium, locally, and she was very internationally known. And I'd worked in her healing center for a couple of years. And she was what we consider a natural medium. She really never took classes or anything, and she didn't know that much about control and boundaries. And she couldn't go out during the day. She couldn't, she had to have, music, to drown out noise. Mm-hmm. She more and more nocturnal as she got older, and that's no way to live. And I always remember some of the old timers telling me, you got to live, you got to be a human being. You can't allow spirit to take over your entire life. Mm-hmm. Yes, what you're doing is to be of service to man and spirit. Yes, that's important, but you must also have a life of your own. You must be the summation of all your experiences. And, I have to say that was the best advice I ever got, because of the fact that, I'm at that point where I can kind of turn it on, I kind of listen, I can ignore it, and I can live my life, because I can't see myself out there directing traffic on a busy street and having somebody whispering in my ear, and I turn around and say, will you shut up, and they can get run over by a truck, you know what I mean?
Well, yeah, exactly. Exactly. Now, do some mediums... I would imagine, especially natural mediums or mediums of really high skill level, do they find themselves almost being driven mad by the constant bombardment?
You can. I'm going to be honest with you. You can. I mean, there was a point in my life not too long ago, and I had written I just did it's more of what they call a trance-saying book, and this entity was just so forceful all the time, and I would be working on something, and that's what happens. You'd be working, and your mind is sort of focused in on what you're doing, and then all of a sudden a little voice comes in or whatever and just kind of sweeps in, and it just keeps badgering you until you write it down or you acknowledge it. And I did that because I wanted the experience of doing it. I allowed it to happen. And when it was done and everything was kind of slowing down, I put parameters on it. Once I put the boundaries out, then it kind of worked within my own schedule. I only allow myself at certain times every day to be open. Sure. And whenever I'm not working, either at I'm reading or doing gallery work or whatever. But on a regular day, I only allow myself to be open at night where I pray or I'm trying to commune with somebody or something on the other side, for intercessions or healing or absentee healing for other people. That's the only time I will open up. And I find it's a really good, it's regimented, yes, but I think it's a really good system and it works for me. And I guess that's what's important, isn't it?
Well, exactly. Exactly. Because as an individual thing, I'm sure, what works for one may not work for another. Tim,
exactly.
One thing I've noticed on the horizon the last few years, I guess really since 9/11, it really went crazy, was this thing of almost paranormal addiction. Where ghost hunting really just kind of blew up and everyone and their grandma was out there with a EMF reader and things like that. Has that caused more trouble than it's helped? Or do you think that some of these people out there, and God bless them, don't get me wrong, don't have the tools for what they're running into? Is that more often the case than not?
Well, first off, history repeats itself. The religion of spiritualism almost died out before the American Civil War. And because of the American Civil War being a war where people went off to fight and were never heard from again, sometimes there was never photographs or any kind of mementos that were left. They relied on mediums and spirits, spiritualists to bring these people back. Now we find that psychic phenomena, the interest in psychic phenomena and the interest in spiritual things and spiritual matters will raise its head in times of war and economic and financial and political uncertainties.
Okay.
If you start graphing it out, you'll actually see what I'm talking about. And we're kind of in that zone right now, especially since 9/11. 9/11 really opened a lot of people's eyes. And to answer your question, we're all given common sense. We're all given that gift of common sense. Some of us don't quite, we're not quite fine-tuned. I'm one of them, I'll be honest with you. But people don't use it. And what happens is that, there are spirits on the other side that are not as nice as, maybe your Aunt Kelly that's coming in visitation.
Sure.
There are manipulators on the other side. And what happens is people will, especially with all the little gizmos and gadgets, it goes right back to using pendulums and Ouija boards and a host of all the other gizmos out there with automatic writing planchets and that. People take this stuff and listen to it. And we see historically that murders were committed, that people lost fortunes, that, bad things happen to those people without using common sense. And I'm seeing that starting to repeat itself with the obsession of paranormal investigators, because there are investigators that will go and invest. If they're not out investigating a location or a house or whatever, they're investigating their own house. Yeah. They're working by themselves. And you've got to be careful of obsession, because obsession is not a healthy thing mentally, physically, but also spiritually, because obsession can lead to, infestations and almost go into what many Christians and, the clergy consider possessions and temporal possessions. So there is an inherent danger if you take this too far, if it becomes so focused. And I know myself, I become very focused on cases, or I become very, very focused when I'm studying. And my wife has got to pretty much shake me and say, hey, why don't you go for a walk in the woods? Hey, why don't you go and, clean the bathroom? That'll ground you, something like that, anything to break that, that focus. And some people don't have that, and some people get into trouble with it.
Tim, I was going to say, I know just from my past, dealing with different investigations and things, and it is very, very easy to go, okay, that's done, the research is done, this is our results, what's the next case? Or I would find myself, we would go on longer and longer excursions, and you'd have more and more recorders, and so you'd have more and more downtime, yet you'd have to listen to everything. And
absolutely.
I would find myself listening, and ended up taking them home and listening to them, which was a big mistake. And I would listen to them to the point where, it sort of has a white noise quality to it, and I would nod off and would have just the most lucid, horrible nightmares. And and this was earlier on into when I was just starting to investigate. But it was, like you said, it was one of those trial by error type situations. And the fact that you're saying that, you can't express, explicitly enough that you have to have that boundary, you have to have that safeguard, you have to have that disconnect. Because it seems like a lot of times, I think certain personalities, sometimes maybe you're very, very one track minded. You might call it an addictive personality. It depends on what your is. But I know for myself, I'm a big fan of music and all this and that, and I could focus for hours and hours and hours on practicing music. I could focus for hours and hours and hours researching, reading old books and stuff about the paranormal and spiritualism and things like that. But like you said, my wife, God bless her, is the one that's saying, you're getting a little too deep in it, honey. You need to back up here. Let's go for a walk in the park. Let's just go for a drive. Anything, just to kind of, you don't want to go so off into it that, like you said, that is your waking, breathing self.
Oh, exactly. And here's another example. When I was working, I was already in my 30s when I came back to this. When I was, when I came back to spiritualism and the true belief of being able to go and communicate with the other side. On a Sunday, I would go, and I belonged to a spiritualist church. I would go to that church in the morning. I would do the hands-on healing, and then I would, I would do the student mediumship thing, and stand up and bring messages to people. Then I would go and serve two more what they consider Christian spiritualist churches. And I would do the same thing there on a Sunday. So basically, my entire Sunday was spent around churches. Now, I'm sure there's 1,001 other things that are a lot worse for me to be doing than spending my time in these religious organizations. Mm-hmm. But it came to the point where it was like, Tim, really, this is all you're doing. This is all you're thinking. You've got to be more well-rounded. All you do is go to work, you come home, you study, you're doing this, you're doing that. Mm-hmm. And it all came to a head when I did a 5-day intensive advanced mediumship class with my mentor, Sharon Klingler of Ohio, whom I love. Mm-hmm. But it got so intensive that as a child, I was able to go and see aura around trees. Physically see these beautiful colors. Well, all of a sudden, I couldn't see it no more. And I thought I broke myself. And I put a lot of stress on myself. I was very upset. And I was told, she told me, listen, it's just you got to a point where you've worked so hard that you kind of bent what you were doing. Mm-hmm. You're getting the essence of the colors. You're getting the essence of what's going on, but you're not getting it anymore. And I'm going to be honest with you, it's quicker. I'm pretty quick on my feet when it comes to bringing messages through gallery or services. But on the other hand, the biggest problem that I have is that I miss that. I miss the pure joy of actually seeing these colors. I miss the pure joy of feeling like love and happiness that you get from the other side, rather than just the essence of it. It sometimes makes you feel a little empty. And in one way it's great. I don't mind doing it, but in the other way I do. You have to be very, very careful. And I put us on this earth for to be spiritual, yes, mm-hmm. to be productive, but you have to have a life.
Yeah, you have to have that balance.
I stopped having to. Yeah, no life.
That healthy balance between the two.
Right.
Right. Otherwise they'll consume you, and that's, and you're right, there's a lot worse things than hanging around churches all Sunday, like watching football. It's way worse.
That's not that bad either.
Well,
except if you're a Buffalo Bills fan.
Well,
I'm sorry,
that is true.
I live near Buffalo. My heart is still broken. That's it.
Really? You gave it up after the 3 Super Bowl appearances and no wins. I know.
Yeah,
I know. People still hate Norwood.
After that, yes.
People still curse the Norwood name to this day. Damn him!
Oh, well, sometimes if you watch the X-Files, we know that it was a conspiracy.
It probably was. Yes, it was. We got to run a break, and when we come back, more Mr. Tim Shaw. We come back right after this. Don't go anywhere. Anavar Media LCC is a dedicated team of professionals committed to helping business development scale and protect their websites, mobile applications, enterprise software solutions in the Northeast Ohio area. Locally owned since 2012, our client-centered values truly sets Anavar apart. Contact us today to learn how you can get 25% off your first project. Call them at 234-380-4852. Again, that's 234-380-4852, or visit them at www.anavar.com. Again, that's www.anavar.com.
Taking a family of 5 to the amusement park can cost a small fortune.
Oh, yeah. So to save some money, we thought, hey, let's bring the amusement park to us.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
All right, step right up, young man. Are you ready to ride the wacky waterfall?
That's just the bathtub with the shower head running.
Nope, it's the wacky waterfall.
It's the shower, Dad.
Waterfall.
Wacky.
There's an easier way to save. To get a free rate quote, go to geico.com. Then buy online, over the phone, or at your local Geico office.
Hi, I'm Kip Parker. And I'm Charlie Parker. And we're the Parker Brothers. Hey, Charlie, what's missing from our game catalog? I don't know, Kip. Tell me. Well, you can't talk to the dead. You sure as hell can. That's why we got this brand new game called Ouija. Ouija? Well, break that down for me. Well, it's Wii because you're having a great time, and G, it's because G, aren't you having a blast because you're having a good time with the Wii. It looks like it spelled like a Chinaman got caught in there. Don't question it. Well, Ouija, Kip, tell me about it. Well, inside the package comes a flat board with all the letters of the alphabet, numbers from 0 to 9, and a yes-no written out by itself. Well, that sounds like a lot of stuff going on. That's got a lot of stuff going on indeed, Charlie. It also comes with this planchette, which hovers over the letters the dead are trying to tell you. Well, how does that work, Chip? Well, you ask the question, and then the dead move your hands in the direction of the answers. That sounds like a heck of a way to find Grandpa's slave money. Turns out it was in the attic. But the questions don't have to be as serious as slavery. You can also find out if Sally's got a crush on you. The dead like to answer all sorts of trivial questions. Feels like they'd have better things to do with their time, Kip. No, lost souls are lost forever, and they're really glad to help. Well, gee, Kip, can't you just get any sort of board with numbers and letters and talk to the dead? The dead prefer quality like anybody else. Quality you can only find at Parker & Parker.
The Ouija board, brought to you by the Parker Brothers, available in both white and colored Walworths. Separate but equal savings.
Do you have a question for our guest tonight? Don't feel like calling the show? Not a problem. Email those questions to afterhoursam@gmail.com. Again, that's afterhoursam@gmail.com. Welcome back to After Hours AM, everybody. I'm your host, Joel Sturgis, right along with me. Okay, are you going to say anything, Steve? Come on now. When I say along with me...
I couldn't even hear you for a second. I don't know what happened.
Well, okay.
On my side. No, okay, here we go. Steve Asher.
Steve, Elvis's little brother Asher. No, just kidding. No, you're not Elvis's little brother. No, but we are talking to Mr. Tim Shaw tonight. We're having a great discussion about, basically the paranormal as a whole. And Tim he's kind of everywhere. I mean, the guy has dipped his toes in a lot of things, but Tim, have you ever had that case that scared the ever-loving bejesus out of you?
Yeah, I'm not going to lie about it. I gotta say that I'll tell you a story about a location that I was at. I used to be a docent at Old Fort Niagara here in New York State, and I loved it. And the place is it's an overlapping anthropological just dream vacation for anybody that loves history and loves science. And one night, I was waiting for a group to finally, to show up. They were going to do an overnighter, and nobody showed up. And I thought, well, I'm not going to wait around. And I've been at this place for probably a year or so, and you hear stuff. And I'm in this French castle all by myself. It's a manor house. and I started hearing footsteps. So I went and I checked everything, all 3 floors, up and down, and I started hearing it again. So I'm ready to go to sleep, and I finally said, "Will you shut up?" Of course, I used a couple swear words stuck in there, and everything went quiet. It went numb, and you could feel that barometric pressure starting to move.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I started hearing footsteps coming down these stairs.
Uh-oh.
Now, I grew up with this stuff. I'm used to this stuff. I'd investigated this stuff. And I got a real funny feeling in the center of my chest, which is like the exorcists always say, it's like the gift of discernment. That's how you know if something's good or bad.
Sure.
I got that real sick feeling in the center of my chest, and I was gone. It was gone. Of course, the only way out is through this bathroom where the ADT alarm is, and of course I did not have the upgraded ADT alarm, so I couldn't run out like I wanted to, and I ended up pulling my truck out in front of the place, and I slept in my truck in a fetal position with a blanket over my head. But that's the only time I ever really was scared at a place. But I've worked some negative cases that involved what we believe was it was a murder in a house. I don't want to say where it is, if that's okay.
Sure,
but there was a murder
fine.
in the house next door. Now the house was actually torn down shortly after the murder, and the wake was held in this house where this infestation was. And it started real slowly. The woman started reporting that her underwear drawers, her panty drawers, were being molested, and they were finding panties and refrigerators and this and that. And it started to
there was no male college dorm nearby, was there?
No,
Okay.
nothing that I could blame it on something like that. But I mean, they started getting
the nerds guy or something.
Animal House. Yeah, go ahead, sir. Sorry about that.
But they started reporting getting bad smells and being scratched and starting to be having nightmares about it. And we started going, and we didn't know anything about the murder and the wake in the house. And when we started doing a little bit of a search and research on the property, we found out there was a child molester that had lived in the house for several years. And what we think it was something that had been dormant, something negative that had been dormant for so long. And we do know that there is no formula to create a haunted house. The right person with the right place at the right time can just make everything spiral out of control. And we do believe that this woman was that type of person, because eventually I had these suspicions, because psychologically, if someone has, especially women, if they've been molested as children, sometimes they have that childlike voice. They have the inflection,
Sure.
talking like, and she did that. And eventually we found out that she had been molested as a child, and she had been having these erotic dreams of something having sex with her, and almost as an incubus. It really got to the point where we had brought in several clergy to clear the house, and it just kept going and going and going. We eventually lessened it because we educated the people about spirituality and what makes up spirits and energy and how to lessen the energy. But it still persisted to a lesser degree, of course. But they eventually moved out of the house within a year and a half. And I did a follow-up just not too long ago. And I talked to the new owners, and they report nothing. Nothing at all has happened there. The neighbors, nothing. The neighbors actually knew what was going on too. So nothing went on. So it was just the right people at the right place at the right time, and that kind of always stuck with me.
Yeah.
Because a couple people I know took attachments back with them, and they had problems really getting rid of them and dealing with them. I didn't ever have a problem, because when I walked out of that house, I just kind of just shut everything and left it behind me. Where I think the fact that it was because this woman had been molested, and what was going on, and having a child molester having lived in the house, I think they took it with them.
Mm-hmm.
I think it really affected them a little bit more than it did me. And I got to say that, the people now, they're very, very happy. Of course, they live, probably about 300 miles away from the location now.
Sure.
But, I mean, it was just something that was unexplainable, and it just started probably about a year into them owning this home.
Wow, I've heard that before, because I know, like, for instance, the Amityville Horror House. People lived in the house since, and they say, there's nothing here, everything's just fine. Like, for instance, that case, do you believe that to be one of those cases? The right people, if you believe in the case at all. I mean, that's that case has been a lightning rod since the book came out, of course. So, I mean, that's assuming the case was legit. Do you believe that to be that case as well? That it was the right family under the right circumstances to make that activity flare up?
That's a hotbed. That one, boy, I'll tell you what. Talk about tossing me into underneath the bus on that one.
I'm sorry.
I'm going to tell you what. I've done some research in it, and I got to say that I do believe there was some sort of influence there that made Defoe do what he did.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I mean, we do know that he did have a criminal past, and he was a drug abuser. But what is it that pushes a person over the edge?
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm a firm believer that, if you're mentally unhinged in some way, and we do realize that addictive or parasitical spirits do exist, and they feed off of people like him.
Sure.
Can they influence that person? I believe absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So, do I believe that the pig running around with the red eyes?
Mm-hmm.
No, I don't believe that. I do believe that there was some sort of energy in there that will influence, or that did influence the people there. And again, you have to be the right person at the right time, and that your physical, mental, and spiritual makeup have got to be just aligned in the correct way for this to happen.
Well, I mean, you're a healthy skeptic, just like I am, just like Steve is, and so you get your share of cases that you go, oh, that's such hogwash. I don't even know where to begin. You have to. What I mean? Because just because you're a free-thinking, rational human being first and foremost, and I would imagine, Tim, you get a lot of those calls that are you just want to tell the people, you know what, put the bong down, okay?
Well, the best one I ever did is not too far away from where I live. We got called in. The woman supposedly was getting possessed. Her eyes were turning black. There was, it sounded like a little, this little castle of horrors going on. So we went in and we did a sweep. And really, I'm a firm believer that EMF affects, brain chemistry and that sort of thing, and physiology.
Sure.
And, we didn't even find any of that.
Wow.
And we're sitting there. I have to say it's probably one of the clearest houses I've ever been in. So we're doing, like all these recordings, and basically, it was about 8 hours that I'll never get back again. But, all of a sudden I sat down and I started looking around the house. And it was a smaller house, so easy floor plan.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized that their bedroom, was well decorated. The kids' bedrooms were well decorated, but the rest of the house wasn't.
Really?
I don't know any lady that lives in a house that wouldn't put things on shelves or little knickknacks or pots and pans. Nothing in the kitchen. A stove, a microwave, and pretty much that was it. The living room had a computer desk. It had a couch. It had a chair and a TV.
Wow.
And a mirror on the wall that they said something was coming through. What I did was I just kind of started talking to him, and I said, geez, what do you know about the house? Because they had, supposedly the brother had bought it for him. They were living in a tenement someplace with these kids, and the brother wanted them to have a better house. And what I found out was this was their mother's house the mother had passed in the house, and he hated this house. The son who was living there absolutely hated this house. So I said to him, I said, let me ask you this. Do you want to move? And he said, absolutely. I said, you must have, signed a lease with your brother. He said, yeah. I said, now, if I come back and say, listen, this house has some activity in it. I just said, and I lied to him. I said,
yeah,
which I think it does. I just openly lied. I said, would that help? He said, yeah. So what he wanted me to do is come back and say the house was a house of horrors, so he could break the lease with his brother and move out. That's exactly what he wanted. We left a recorder going. We left a recorder on a couch, and we caught them saying, "Oh, they're gone. Okay, great. Yeah, that was really good what she did." He was saying to her, about the story. We caught it on the recorder. But next morning we called up and said, hey, we left one of our recorders someplace. I think it was like at the couch, and they, it's kind of tucked in, and they went, oh yeah, and by that time the battery had died, so it was off. So they didn't know any different, and yet there it was. So I mean, you get that. You have to be so skeptical, and that's something that really is like a bone of contention with me, because everybody in the world lately tells me these horrific stories and all this stuff, and a lot of it is a figment of their imagination, a figment of their fears, or it's an urban legend. It's like the Ouija board. A cousin of so and so went out and was. They went and they did a keg of beer, and they decided to whip out the Ouija board during a frat party. Well, what do you expect?
A
lot of urban legends. So you have to weed through it, and if you're good at what you do, you don't believe everything. And I always tell students, never believe what a client tells you. Never believe it. Use it as your guidepost, use it as reference, but don't take it to the church for gospel truth. What you have to do is just come from Missouri and say, you got to show me spirit. Show me something.
Yeah.
And that's the way you have to do it.
It kind of reminds me of the show House, where Dr. House says, rule number 1, everybody lies.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. Or they exaggerate. And I think that's probably one of the biggest hindrances that a paranormal investigator has.
Well, Tim, I was going to say, and beyond the sort of fame culture that we're in, everyone's wanting to be on a reality show, but there's also, as you know, just in your research and dealing with people and with crowds, people feed off of this, and people, they may not have seen exactly what their friends saw, but they hear 2 or 3 of them say enough of it, they kind of go, well, yeah, maybe that's what it was, and then it feeds itself, it perpetuates itself, and
exactly.
it's I mean, you can just look back at the witch trials, I mean, which is an extreme case, but obviously, if you don't put the brakes on something, it builds and it gets out of control.
Exactly. I mean, we start looking at urban legends, and that's where I cut a lot of my teeth on, were local urban legends. And this, this horrific legend that happened on this road, of course, everybody's got the road with the guy with the hook and all that. Well, when we start looking at the road, we find that parts of a body, a woman was murdered, and part of her body, was found on this road. But nobody ever goes to that point. Everybody takes for granted that, somebody's out there with a machete and hacking people apart. That's what you have to look for. You got to look for that grain of truth. Now, I'm not saying that people are in pain. People, I had a woman that said that she was being attacked by an incubus, and we set up a camera and we saw her running into the refrigerator so that she would go and bruise herself.
Oh my Lord!
Really. I mean, and she wanted the attention, and the only way she got it was because, like, paranormal investigators believed everything she told them. And, she would show all these fresh bruises. She would say, I woke up with them. We had set up a cam. We got permission from the lady and her daughter who lived next door. And we just set it up in the kitchen. That's all we did. Because I asked her, is there anything that comes before these attacks? And she says that the refrigerator started to run a very long time, which is why she believed that she was being, the energy was used by the spirit to attack her. And as crazy as that is, people believed it. It wasn't until I showed the daughter her in the middle of the night, and I don't, it's not for me to ascertain whether she was sleepwalking or whatever. She literally put her head into the corner of the refrigerator to produce this goose egg on her head. And I gave her the I back then, that's how long ago, it was the VHS tape. I gave her the VHS tape. I gave her a card to a social worker whom I know is a good friend of mine, which is really important to have a real network of professionals behind you. And I said, listen, I can't do anything, but perhaps he can help you, and it's up to you. I'm going to put it in your lap now, because, you have to be of service to God, you have to be of service to people and spirit. And I would be totally remiss, and, I would be a terrible person if I did not bring this evidence to her daughter.
Yeah.
And her daughter thanked me for it and said, I think we're going to have to do something. So I don't know what happened after that, but yeah, that's a true story.
Tim, how much would you say that mental illness plays into this? I mean,
a lot.
People thinking...
So you got to watch it. I mean, you really got to watch it. And medications can cause hallucinations. I know during... I'll be honest with you, during one of my chemos, because I had 9 surgeries for bladder cancer.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, and some of the medication does not bode well with certain people. And I was laying on the couch, and I looked up, and I swear I saw something looking at me. And I never got that feeling that it was a spirit or anything, but there was something there, and there was so much out of context, so that's why I figured it was probably, a dream or something. And then I realized I'm taking Oxycontin, I'm taking this, I'm taking that, and sure, this stuff, all these, my wife is a medical transcriptionist. She comes right out and says, well, this type of medication will do this or that. So you have to really watch that. You have to watch, and you have to have compassion for the people.
Yeah.
You really got to watch it because it's not their fault. You don't want to go and make fun of them. I mean, I can laugh about some cases, but that lady that ran into the refrigerator, I mean, let's face it. I mean, we have to, feel sorry for her, and she needs help. And that's where you have to think about it. Your job out there is to help, not to have this as a thrill ride or write it in a book where, everybody can sit and laugh at it.
How do you delicately tell somebody you're nuts? They're nuts.
Oh no, I'm not delicate at all.
I mean, I
come right out and say, listen, I ask them for a list of their drugs. If they won't do it, I won't do the case. It's imperative. I have to know this stuff. This is for my own safety too.
Yeah.
And you have to be very, very careful. I mean, Jason Hawes always tells a story about he went into a house and the lady was really nice. Then all of a sudden she came out after him with a shotgun. You have to be you got to be very careful with that. And for your own safety. So, I mean, I want to cover as many bases as I can. Again, It comes with not automatically believing everything that you're told. And even though I am one of the biggest believers, I love working with spirit. I am like one of these people that I love energy. I mean, it's so fulfilling to me. But on the other hand, you just can't believe everything that's put out there. There's a lot of stuff that I can't understand. There's a lot of stuff that I do understand. And there's a lot of stuff out there that, to me, is going to be an eternal mystery. And I put it underneath the topic, the heading of faith. And, maybe someday it'll be explained with science. Either way, right now at this point, there's just so much out there that's a big question mark.
Yeah.
Tim, I was going to say real quick, if it's okay, I want to commend you firstly, just for the fact that you do have people that does this sort of work, be it paranormal investigations and research and spirit work with people, and you can tell pretty quickly where their minds are at, if it's more for their own personal, getting notches, as it were, on their investigative belt, if they're actually there for the spiritual health of these people. And like you said, sometimes you do have to just go, look, there's nothing here. You really need to, need to have this looked at professionally, because there's so many people go, okay, do we got everything? Oh, yeah, okay, we got some good footage. She's throwing herself around. This is look great. And they don't care. And that's what's so great, is when you do have a compassionate person that is gifted and has the fortitude to be able to tell somebody, because not everybody, nobody wants to offend anybody anymore. And it's a thing where the great part is that you do what you do, but like I said, there's times you've got to, well, I call it daddying up. You got to be a dad. You got to just say, look, this isn't happening.
Exactly.
Stop what you're doing or whatever. Sometimes people are doing stuff. It's inviting things in, on a sort of a different note. And it's refreshing to see that, because you don't always see that in people that do this type of work.
And I John Zaffis, I love the guy. I mean, I met him a few years ago, and we've been friends ever since. And he comes right out and says, listen, sometimes you've got to stay at that location. Sometimes you've got to figure out a way to record at that location. You've got to have something there all the time. Because I had a case where I drove 2.5 hours to get there. I'm driving home. They're calling me up on my cell phone saying all hell's breaking loose. We turn around, you go back, and nothing happens. And then you drive away, and they're calling you back. You have to be able to go and have such an open mind. You've got to be able to test it. You've got to be able to go and see if it's going to happen. And sometimes, yeah. I mean, you're there affecting whatever energy's in that place, and sometimes it'll shut down. But other times when you're in there, it amps up. So that's the whole thing. You've got to be able to go and be fluid enough to open your eyes and say, listen, sometimes I'm going to have to spend a month just on one case. There are no I don't believe in one-nighters. I don't believe in one-night cases. There's research, there's follow-through, and then there's cases, and you can't just walk away. You've got to be of service. And if you're going to do this and do it right, you've got to be of service.
I would agree. I mean, a lot of teams, a lot of paranormal investigators, they go, or ghost hunters, whatever you'd like to call these folks, they'll go in for a night of spooks and scares, and they'll take their pictures and get all scared, but that's it. They're not really trying to get to the bottom of the haunting. They're there just for their own, oh my gosh, it's so scary, and really that's their payoff, is a night of thrills and chills, which you can get at any amusement park, to be honest with you. Not a lot of them do really good research in the way of historical research, ongoing research, and aftercare. Aftercare, in my opinion, is huge, because, I mean, you come in, you've shaken up someone's worldview, and then you leave. That shouldn't be how it works, but a lot of times it is. These people are left holding the bag going, okay, now what? Okay, we have ghosts, now what? You know.
Or they don't come back with evidence. They just leave and never contact them again, which happened to me with a group that I once belonged to. And it was what it was. It was something, it wasn't bothering a young boy, but the boy was, get up at 3 o'clock in the morning, playing with whatever's there. Here's the thing. We went in there, and we got an EVP that said Frankie. And the guy that used to live there before them, who passed away, his name was Frank. We were able to go and give this to the lady. Now, the group, well, you know what, the evidence wasn't that good, so we didn't really care. We're not even going to bother. Oh, they're a pain in the rear end, they're this and that. Sure. And this woman is, got a hold of me, and she's like, oh my God, I opened my house to you people, you don't care, this guy isn't getting back to me. That's a shame. But if people want to, I have no problem with people that want to go on the thrill ride. So what do? There's more than enough haunted locations that are open to the public for
Exactly.
Go. Sure. But please don't go to somebody who may be in pain. Don't go to somebody who really has something going on, and they're afraid or whatever. Don't do that, please. Don't do that. I mean, I'm not saying that I'm a professional by any means. The only thing I'm a professional in is pushing asphalt. That's my day job, so that's what I'm a professional in. But my whole goal is to tell people, please use your head, use your common sense. Don't leave people hanging. And also, the big thing is please pass a case on to somebody else. If you think this case is too big, get a hold of somebody, and they will help you out, and they'll be able to network to somebody who can help those people.
Know your own limits.
This is the bottom line.
Yep. Know your own limits as an investigator. Know your own limits as a person. Tim, I can't thank you enough for coming on with us. I really enjoyed this past hour of great discussion. You're always welcome back, my friend. I mean, there's so many more places we could go, but we're running out of time. And of course,
I love you guys.
Oh, hey,
really, thank you. You guys humbled me by asking me back, and that's the way I really feel. But thank you so much. And for you guys to ask me even on the show, that's like mind blowing to me. I'm just a kid from Buffalo, New York that pushes asphalt during the day. Really, that's what I consider myself.
Hey man,
really.
you're a great asset to the paranormal. And again, thank you so much for coming on the show. On behalf of myself, Joel Sturgis, and Mr. Steve Asher over there, we'd like to thank you for listening to this edition of After Hours AM. Take care of each other, love each other, and more importantly, just be aware of what's going on around you. You just never know anymore. Thank you for listening to this edition of After Hours AM, and please remember to like us on Facebook and also follow us over on Twitter.